I swear to God, I'm going to drive up there. We're going to have a problem. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wrestling Archives podcast. I'm your co-host, Tim Hackman.
I'm your co-host, Rich Sigwald.
Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you listening along. We got an exciting one today. We're going to dig into a listener request, which we love to do from time to time. Doing all right over there, Rich? You enjoying your summertime?
God, it's hot. I'm sorry if you all hear the blower of my air conditioning, because I record in the basement and there's a vent right over my head. But it is probably 150 degrees outside in the shade, and if you go out in the sun, you will melt directly here. So you'll just catch fire. So I gotta leave the air conditioning on, and so if you hear the, I'm sorry, but too bad. We would all die right now if the air conditioning turned off.
Ungodly hot, and it seems a little early in the season, but you know, everything's fine. I'm sure everything's fine.
It's perfect weather to stay inside and watch wrestling.
Yeah, that's for goddamn sure. Speaking of watching wrestling, there's been some pay-per-views and such lately. Did you catch any of Money in the Bank from WWE?
I did. I watched a good portion of it.
Yeah.
I felt like the men's Money in the Bank match was all right. It was probably one of the safer ladder matches that we've seen in history with WWE for men. But it harkens back to a simpler time of Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon in ladder matches where, you know, they're not doing Canadian destroyers through ladders onto tables with a steel chair at the bottom or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, but I thought it was good. Sadly predictable.
Yeah, agreed.
Which made me kind of wish that Drew McIntyre would have cashed in on Cody, just to throw people off. But I am also happy that they just cashed it in that night because, as I've gone on record before, I'm not a big fan of the Money in the Bank thing, because now you have the King of the Ring that wins the title match at SummerSlam. You have the Royal Rumble winner getting the main event at WrestleMania against the champion. But you can also just win the 6-man ladder match and get a title match anytime you want, whether it's in the middle or whatever. And so it kind of feels like cheap to me.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I would agree.
There must be enough people that do like it for them to have been doing it for so long at this point. I thought it was a decent show, but what I actually thought was the better show was the AEW Forbidden Door with New Japan.
I can't believe you watched that.
I watched it, and I absolutely loved pretty much all of it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an excellent night of wrestling. Swerve Strickland versus Will Ospreay right now is my match of the year. But how about you? What have you been watching?
Well, I didn't watch Forbidden Door. I don't have much tolerance for the random Japanese people fighting random AEW people for no real reason. I was interested in seeing Swerve versus Will Ospreay. I like both of those guys, but I thought I'll have to catch up with that one a little bit later. I wasn't going to sit through a 6-hour Canadian Destroyer Fest. I liked most of Money in the Bank. I enjoyed. I liked the chaos of the last 6-man tag. That was a match that was just sort of about whatever personal animus. It didn't have any stipulations, didn't have any tag or titles on the line. It was just, we don't like this guy, and we don't like this guy. So I sort of got a kick out of that one. The rest of the show was all right. I told my wife early on, I'm like, CM Punk comes back and screws Drew out of something one more time, right? Because that worked so well at the last one, and I thought, there's no way they're not going to repeat that. And then Monday Night Raw this week with with CM Punk in particular, I thought was really solid. They've been on a roll with that whole thing lately, and I appreciate it.
I think what's working there with the CM Punk stuff is just CM Punk is face, but he's working like a heel, and Drew McIntyre is heel, but he's working like a face.
Yeah. And I like, I've never been a huge Drew McIntyre fan. I always thought he was a little bit corny. But the amount of, like, disgust and, I don't know, just bile he's worked up for CM Punk in this particular run has been really inspiring. I appreciate it. So.
Yeah, he does angry well. And I thought it was brilliant because when they signed CM Punk, they leaked stories that Drew McIntyre walked out of the arena immediately and refused to perform and was going to quit WWE and all that. He wasn't going to renew his contract. And I was like, and people bit hard on that.
Yeah.
And here it is. It's all a work. Genius.
I was surprised that people bit as hard on that as they did, especially since they had swerved everybody with the whole Rock and Cody and Roman stuff for WrestleMania, like just right around the same time. And I'm like, if you fall for this thing twice, you need to assess your life a little bit. But
I think that Rock business with WrestleMania 40 is actually setting up WrestleMania 41. I think it's setting up night one to be Roman Reigns versus The Rock, and then Roman Reigns and The Rock will both retire. That's what I think.
Interesting.
You heard it here first, people.
Yeah, mark that down on your calendars. We're calling them. I like the other thing I liked on Money in the Bank was John Cena's announcement. I don't quite understand the I'm retiring, but I'm going to wrestle at least 3 more big pay-per-view events this year, culminating in WrestleMania. But it was nice to see sort of the outpouring of fandom for Cena. His whole thing is endlessly fascinating to me. Like, he was so. People really love to hate him, and now he's just like universally beloved. Even if they're chanting Cena sucks, they're doing it like kind of with a wink, right? It's sort of like, I don't think he's the GOAT. Like, I think he's won a lot of titles. He's sold a lot of merch. I think it's stretching it to say that
the dude is this generation's Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, he's money, right? He's
right, and he's a better actor.
I'd much rather see him than The Rock in any movies at this point. Him and Dave Bautista, actually, both. So anyway, but congratulations to him. I'm curious to see any thoughts on who they line him up against for WrestleMania next year.
Who do I think you'd want to go out against? Cody? I don't think he would be. I don't think they would put him up against Cody though, because I don't think they'd want him in a title match.
Yeah.
Unless they had him win the Royal Rumble, I could see him maybe working as Seth Rollins, but I feel like he's gonna want to work someone. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought someone back from the past that he worked well with somehow or something like that. But
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be able to say whoever he wants to fight, and that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So he could be like, I want to fight Stone Cold, and they'll dig Stone Cold out of mothballs and put him in there.
Yeah, they could. He might do an interesting thing with Gunther. I don't know if that would work or not.
That would be a fascinating match.
I know, right? Somebody might actually die. I'm not sure. Well, anyway, I'm not willing to quite grow on record just yet with my guests because I don't really have a guest. But we do have a listener request for this episode. Our buddy Nick, welcome back, Nick. We haven't heard from you in a little while. You sent us a request. He dug one out of the archives for us. It's called UK Rampage from 1992. He just sort of hit us up in the DMs and said, hey, what about this one? This was a short-lived sort of series of VHS releases in the early 90s. I think 89 is the first one. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's basically just like they record like the last show of a European tour. And so 89 was like, I think, the first time they did a show in the United Kingdom, and they recorded that one from London. This one is coming from Sheffield, from what I believe is the brand new Sheffield Arena at this point. The Sheffield Arena just opened. They packed the house, and it's not your typical WWF home video, right? They're frequently clips or like wrestling matches that were done at house shows that they recorded and maybe aired on prime time or Superstars or something like that, and then they culminate them together into some sort of package. And it's also not a best of Bret Hart or a best of Hulk Hogan or best of Ultimate Warrior show either. It's a recording of one night. It has a pay-per-view feel to it.
Yeah, it definitely has a big show feel, I will say,
And you have, and like, unlike the previous tapes, there's no like sitting in a lobby or a studio and Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan talk about, okay, and next up is Bret Hart versus the Brooklyn Brawler. Like, there's not like nothing like that. It's like a live event that they recorded, and there's the commentators are ringside. It doesn't sound like they re-recorded any of the stuff for this or anything like that. It's a fun show. I like this, and it brought back a lot of memories for me. Just because, especially with Nick asking, this is like the second or third one of these Coliseum home videos that Nick has requested, and I don't know about you, but the Coliseum home videos actually played a big role in what wrestling I saw.
Yeah, for sure.
We would rent them from Errol's Video and Hollywood Video and later Blockbuster Video, just because, my family couldn't afford to order the Royal Rumble at $30 when it happened.
Yeah.
But 5 months later, we could pay $3.99 and rent it and bring it home and watch it.
Yep.
And just because I already kind of knew what happened and stuff like that doesn't mean it wasn't an entertaining as hell show to rewatch. Well, watch for the first time, but post-dated, So, and Coliseum home video is actually kind of like a interesting little thing. What seems like something that is dedicated only to WWE. It comes off very much as this like a company that WWE ran, but it's actually an independent company. They did do a few non-wrestling videos. They did a couple videos of the World Bodybuilding Federation, which was another Vince McMahon project. But they also did a music video for the New York Giants, We're the New York Giants, and they did a Wayne Gretzky instructional video.
Oh, shit.
I know, it's pretty cool.
That is cool.
And so they were founded in 1985 by Everett Enterprises. But and they did WWF videos pretty much from then until 1997, when WWF decided to go in-house for their video distribution. And the moment their contract ended with WWF, they closed up.
Oh, that's the bummer. Yeah,
we're done with business here. we had a good run,
yeah.
And also just the memories of those commercials that they would run during the pay-per-views.
Home video.
Right. Vince McMahon yelling at you that WrestleMania, 8 is coming out on Coliseum home video next week,
That's great.
And so, yeah, it really filled the gap. It played an important role for those people that couldn't pay for the pay-per-views. It also provided a way for collectors to collect these things and added tapes into the tape circles and stuff like that. And helped make wrestling mainstream.
Yeah, I remember going into LP Video. That was the sort of locally, mom and pop video store on Broadway in Red Lion, PA, where I grew up. And there was a whole section, sports, whatever, documentaries or whatever you want to call it. But I would say it was easily 70% wrestling tapes. And, of that 70%, 80 90% were WWF products, right? Like you catch the occasional NWA, WCW video thing, but nothing that had the reach and the exposure of a Coliseum home video. I always sort of assumed that they were an arm of WWF, so that's interesting to note that they were their own thing. But also, like you said, obviously totally dependent on that business to keep them afloat. But and they definitely, the thing I like about it is they have like a very distinctive look and feel and sound and production. They're not cheaply done. Like they look good, and they had decent production values.
Almost the majority of the pay-per-view recordings, the old pay-per-view recordings of WWF shows on the Peacock and what was on WWF Network are actually rips of the Coliseum videos. And some of them they still left in, like the Coliseum home video logo coming up before them and stuff like that. So they definitely left their mark on the business and left their mark on our generation of fans, just because, I would want to go to Errol's video and I would immediately grab the newest WWF tape and Police Academy. I'd want Police Academy almost every time.
Nice.
And they'd be like, my parents would say, like, we rented that last week. I don't care.
That's too
I don't
funny.
care.
Mine would be either like Bloodsport or Kickboxer or Commando or the first Predator, that kind of thing. I was an Arnold Schwarzenegger nut. Probably I still am. But yeah. And what's interesting, I always went the other way. I wouldn't grab the late. I would always go back to the first couple of WrestleManias. I don't know how many friggin' times I rented WrestleMania 1, 2, and 3 over the years.
Yeah. If there wasn't a new wrestling tape, that's where I went for.
Go back to the well, man. So we're like I said, we're glad Nick pulled this one out of the archives for us. This is a cool show. This was recorded April 19th, 1991. That was my first year of high school. Let me think. Yeah,
recorded 1992, by the way.
What's that?
It's recorded in April 1992.
Oh, 1992, my bad. Hence the name. I just typed it wrong on my notes. April 19th, 1992. That was my second year of high school. 8,000 people in attendance at that Sheffield arena in Sheffield, England. Right from the get-go, you get a big old thing that's sponsored by The Sun, the UK tabloid, and Atari. So it's about as 80s, early 90s of a thing as you could hope for. We've got Bobby the Brain Heenan and the inimitable Gorilla Monsoon on commentary, so it's going to be a good show, and a really good roster of matches. So anything you want to say before we get into the actual card?
We get a pretty fun video montage that starts this show, and it's them interviewing fans out front of the stadium. They all got obviously thick British accents, and so it's just like, I'm rooting for the Undertaker. Hello, Governor. Go Bret Hart. And like, it's nonstop, just like
it's
little
great.
Kids in horrible accents saying their favorite wrestlers' names. And it's kind of cute, kind of obnoxious, kind of a time capsule on videotape.
Yeah. It's like heavy metal parking lot for wrestling. Well, when we watched... what was the name of the one that we watched from the UK that had they had one of those on that special as well?
Yeah, the Battle Royal at Royal Albert Hall.
Yeah.
Which gets referenced a lot during this.
Yeah. Because it was not that far apart, right? What year was that one?
So that was in October of 1991. So that was just a couple months prior. But I think it's a different tour, but of Europe at that point. But it was referenced heavily, especially when it came to talking about British Bulldog and his win of the Samovar Trophy
Cup
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a long discussion about the Samovar Trophy on that Battle Royal Albert Hall episode. So go back and give that one a spin. You'll figure out what they were talking about. But I remember the little kids out front of that show also just being over the moon at Davy Boy Smith being there, and they were super hype and talking about it in their little adorable accents.
Yeah.
So if you like that thing,
for that British bulldog.
I don't know if you're allowed to do that. I think you might get canceled. Just be careful. That's all.
Yeah, we do have a few listeners in the UK, so I kind of apologize to you for my accent.
Yeah. Anyway, we're working on it. So let's get into the card if you're ready.
Yeah, right off the bat, we have Tatanka versus Skinner. Steve Kern.
So a classic curtain jerker from this time period.
Yeah.
Man, that crowd loves Tatanka. People go nuts for his
Tatanka
entrance.
was hot.
He really was.
And Skinner's already in the ring, so that never bodes well for you.
Have we ever seen Skinner win a match? Actually, I don't know.
I don't think so. Did he win that match with Owen Hart in some weird way that we watched? Maybe, but either way, Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan are on fire from the very start of this show. Skinner is an uncouth pig, according to Gorilla Monsoon. And also, Tatanka's red hair stands for, quote, the unification of all Indian tribes with this man as their leader.
I don't think that's true.
I don't think so either, that Tatanka has united all of the Indian tribes. He is, from the Lundy tribe?
Uh-huh. I don't know. I don't know if he's consulted with all the other tribes. That's a lot of people to consult. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of territory to cover too.
I liked the idea that his regalia and his hairstyle and stuff had some symbolic, meaning to it or whatever.
Yeah, and there was a ceremony, I think, on a Monday Night Raw where his tribe came and placed like the war chief headdress or whatever upon him and had a ceremony in the ring around him, and that was pretty awesome and pretty legit too. So we're not mocking Tatanka, we are mocking Gorilla Monsoon for making up this story that Tatanka has united his peoples, all of the peoples, under his red hair.
Yeah, it's a stretch, but that's okay. Tatanka was great. One of the most big time guys to never win the big title, right?
Yeah, he had a long undefeated streak that just kind of went ignored and unacknowledged when it came to being considered for titles. So
yeah. So the Lumbies, by the way, are there's a North Carolina tribe. I don't remember where he's from exactly. Well, he's from the North Carolina one, I believe, right? They are a state recognized but not federally recognized tribe.
Yeah.
And there's 55,000 people in the the Lumbee Nation. So I doubt that he even represents all of them, let alone all of the other tribes all around the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah.
When
we went to the Outer Banks, we went to the Lost Colony play that's been running for 87 years now in Manteo, North Carolina, and they have recently updated it, which made a lot of the old people angry, but they no longer kick the Indian chief's head around and play catch with it. So good changes happening.
It's a good change
in this play. But they had a demonstration of native dancing beforehand, and several of the dancers were actually from the Lumbee tribe.
That's cool.
And so I was like, Tatanka, Tatanka's one of you.
Did you ask him? They probably don't.
No,
like that.
I didn't get a chance to talk to them. But also, I think we're going to have to keep an eye on the future here for Tatanka Jr., because if you follow Tatanka on Facebook, you will see him regaling his son as like a state champion amateur wrestler at the high school level, and I'm sure soon at the collegiate level, and in a couple of years we'll probably be watching him on NXT. Yeah. I just have that feeling in my heart that that's where that's going for him.
I'd be okay with that. I'd be excited to see that.
His kid is ripped.
Oh, really?
My God. I don't know how at like 15 you get that many muscles, but that kid, man.
Is it Joseph Tatanka or Jeremiah Chris? Do you know?
I don't know.
It's okay. One of them's born in 2004, so he'd be 20. The other one's 2009, so he'd be what?
I think it's that one.
Yeah. All right, we're getting off on a. This is not going. We're going on a rampage, a tangent already. Tatanka beat Skinner after getting a little bit of a beatdown, and we kind of knew that he would.
Yeah, I mean, there's some gross stuff in this match. Tatanka gets bit by Skinner on the face, and then when the camera zooms in, you can see that there is tobacco juice all over Tatanka's face, which is one, gross, and two, extremely symbolic of the white man's relationship with the Indians that were here,
especially in North Carolina, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of doink shining through in Steve Kern's performance, which I mean he's the second doink, but you can see a lot of the moves and stuff like that are going to be doink once he stops being Skinner.
Yeah.
There's also some other great things coming out of Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon. Bobby Heenan says that Tatanka needs to mount his Pinto and get out of town. He asks if Tatanka is the surname of Tonto, and then he says, "I'm just asking. You don't have to snap at me." And then,
would you stop?
Well, Gorilla Monsoon comes back even meaner. There's no need to be facetious, Brain. And then Brain says, "Why not?" And Gorilla says, "You're disgusting enough as it is."
I love it. Those two should have just gotten married, really. Like,
if it was legal back then, they probably would have.
Just go off living in Minnesota and ice fishing like in Grumpy Old Men.
Yeah.
The next match coming up, and I'm not going to skip over the promo, don't worry, is Dino Bravo and the Iron Sheik versus the Legion of Doom. And we get a really phenomenal, completely fucking unhinged Legion of Doom promo. One of them says, this is a direct quote, "Swelling of the fluid sac surrounding the brain, splintered sphincters, bursted bladders, clipped vertebrae, and broken bones. These are the things our dreams are made of." Who talks like that? Who talks like that?
I know. He finishes with, "And our dreams are soon to be your nightmares.
Yeah.
You boys are in serious trouble. This is the biggest mistake of your stinky lives."
Boo, boo, boo. Oh, man.
So that was Hulk that said that. And Animal has this other great line where he just finishes his promo with, "Sign on the damn line and get in the ring." Using "damn" in WWF in 1992 is risque and edgy, man.
Yeah, for reals. Those guys are great on the mic. They're always just... we talked a little bit before we turned on the mics that one of the things that we're really missing in this current age of wrestling is the completely unhinged promo, and there's a couple of just really solid ones on this show, and it made me really kind of miss it. Did we get a Dino Bravo and Iron Sheik promo? I feel like I would have written it down.
No.
So Sheik gets some great heat as usual. He Hawk twos on the flag. I don't know,
We should note that he is wrestling under the name Colonel Mustafa here.
Yeah.
This is his Iraqi general, or Iraqi colonel, I guess, phase. And Dino Bravo is a brunette here. He's no longer blonde, which is kind of...
Yeah, he looks weird.
Kind of startling, yeah. This is before the Montreal Mafia offed him.
I don't think you're allowed to talk about it on the air.
Allegedly. Vice TV already did.
Allegedly. Let's just say allegedly.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear that Dino Bravo is going to carry this match because Sheik is already incredibly rigid and stiff and bad-backed and lock-kneed and just not very mobile.
Yeah. Yeah, you feel a little bit bad for him. But, he was an older guy, like, before he hit his his big time, and so by this time he's really kind of feeling it.
Because he was like 45, I think we calculated, when he put Hogan over in '84. So
yeah,
okay, Dino's going to carry this match, and this match is over before it starts. I literally just wrote "Bing Bang Boom" and the match is over with a clothesline from the top rope.
Yeah, Legion of Doom wraps that one up pretty quickly, and they're moving on.
Yeah.
There's some other phenomenal promos coming up here. We've got Sid Justice, a.k.a. Sid Vicious, a.k.a. Psycho Sid, whatever you want to call him, with Harvey Whippleman as his manager, and Sean Mooney. He's mad at The Undertaker, of course, and he's... man, he really goes off, and like I'm watching this, I'm like, wait, do I like Sid Vicious now? Like, because this is a really good promo.
Yeah. So the one line I was able to catch from Sid's was, "Behind that pale face of yours, what lies behind it?" Like you're using the word "behind" a little too much, but that's right. Okay.
He got mixed up.
But also he references. He doesn't reference the movie. He references that he was reading the novel Night of the Juggler. He says jugular, but it's Night of the Juggler that he's referring to, which is some sort of cop drama. I've never seen it or read it. And there's a kidnapper that's a psychopath and stuff like that. The movie apparently stars James Brolin and Mandy Patinkin. So
what?
I know it's kind of weird, but it's like, wow, Sid's been reading. I guess it was a long flight over, I guess, or something. And he found the book under the seat or something.
Yeah. 1980. Oh, man, look at that poster.
It's a pretty good poster.
Yeah. I would have that in my office now.
Yeah, I kind of want to watch it now.
Yeah. I should see if we have that in our Narrow collection.
And most likely, if you're going to watch it, it's going to have to be rented through your Narrow collection there at Old Dominion University. Check it out.
Hey, thanks for the promo. As the clock ticks toward October 15th, the NYPD scrambles to find the serial killer who every year on that date kidnaps and murders a young girl. When the killer mistakenly kidnaps the daughter of a tough ex-cop Luther Boyd, the search intensifies into a fast-paced manhunt through the gritty streets of New York. That's the summary for the novel. That sounds fucking incredible.
Yeah, in the movie they changed his name to Sean.
Sean.
But I don't know why they would do that. But
Sean Boyd?
Yeah. So anyways, after Sid, we have Paul Bearer and The Undertaker also cutting unhinged interviews as well. Paul Bearer has this beautiful line of, "There isn't any justice in death."
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
And then Taker actually speaks. At this point in time, he doesn't talk much. And so he just says, "Sid Justice, I followed you across the great sea to bring you a gift. It must be hand-delivered. That gift is a tombstone. Rest in peace, Sid Justice."
Which is brilliant, because at first I was like, what's he going to do with a tombstone? And then I realized, he's going to give him a tombstone pile driver.
Oh, Tim.
I know, he got me.
Oh.
It's a double on tentacly, whatever, one of those things. Anyway, I'm not the smartest. No, that was a fantastic combo. Thought it was really nice of him to bring the tombstone with him. I feel like you could have bought one in the UK, but maybe with the exchange rate or whatever, it was cheaper. I don't know. Undertaker, Paul Bearer, Sid Justice, Harvey Whippleman. They're starting out with a big stare down for the two guys. Is Sid is maybe even just a little bit bigger than Undertaker? Like,
they're about the same height.
It's
Sid
close.
might be an inch taller.
Yeah.
But Taker has such a pop. It's very clear that he's money. He is future money.
He's on the rocket, yeah.
In this, he is on what do they say in Kingpin? He's on the gravy train with biscuit wheels.
Biscuits.
Yeah, and gravy. And this is where you really you can see some real details in this. Like, Undertaker is no selling being choked on the ropes, which is genius. He's supposedly dead. Why would choking him hurt him?
Yeah.
But this is another one of those moments where we've talked before, like the Jim Ross makes the Stone Cold gimmick. Bobby Heenan sells the Undertaker's undead zombie gimmick so hard and so well. He's scared of him. He talks about him like he's a moving corpse, and he just constantly saying, "Look at him! You can't hurt him! You can't hurt someone that's already dead! You can't." Like, he's just putting Undertaker over so much, and I feel like no one really talks about that much, that like Bobby Heenan, I mean, if you just have like a normal play caller trying to sell the Undertaker gimmick, like Tony Schiavone, would you believe Tony Schiavone?
No.
Right. You need someone that's already seen as like kind of outrageous, off his rocker a little bit, and that's Bobby Heenan. And Bobby Heenan is absolutely terrified of the Undertaker, and it really makes the Undertaker's shtick work. Otherwise, this is stupid.
Yeah. Maybe he just likes wearing gloves. No, it's great. It's one of the great combos. We should talk about that. We should make a list sometime and rank them. You know, like you said, Jim Ross and Stone Cold. I would even say Jim Ross and Mankind maybe is another one. But there's
and Gorilla Monsoon and Bret Hart.
Yeah.
You know,
because his style of getting into like the specifics of anatomy and stuff really works with Bret's like, you know, serious technical approach, right? Anyway, off on another tangent. Sid jumps the bell and beats on the Undertaker for a while. They go back and forth. Sid actually ends up winning this one by count out and continues to beat on the Undertaker after. So a little, you know, kind of unusual. But then while he's celebrating, Undertaker does his sit-up move, and then, of course, there's hell to pay. And he gets to give him the tombstone that he brought with him all the way from the U.S., which was,
he worked real hard on that.
Very considerate.
Yeah, there's just some nasty stuff and stuff that didn't make sense. They clearly weren't planning for steel chair usage, so the only chair that came into play had giant foam padding on it. So that was not believable very much. You can hear Harvey Whippleman at some point call a fan an asshole, which is amazing.
I heard that one too. I can't usually hear those. You usually pick them up and I don't, but that one I actually heard.
Yeah, like it's very loud to suddenly, asshole, comes ringing through. And Sid lands a really nasty neck breaker on the Undertaker where he's holding the Undertaker's hair instead of wrapping his arm around his neck to do it. And that just looked real vicious. But Taker plants that tombstone and everybody's happy even though the Undertaker lost.
Yeah, that was a good one. That's a highlight to me. Speaking of highlights, we got a Shawn Michaels Sexy Boy promo, but he is with the phenomenal, the sensational Sherry, and we always, we're always in for a treat whenever she's on the card. So I'm excited just from this little promo. This is about the point too in the show where I realized again how well this format works, right? This promo match, and it's sort of like it's got such a rhythm to it that it really kind of pulls you along through the show. You do the promo, it's whatever it is, 90 seconds. It sets up the story. It tells you what this guy's thinking as he's going into it, and then you get to the match and you see, does his prognostications come true or not? Was he full of shit? Are they going to continue to fight, or is this the end of it? And then you're on to the next thing. It's like, it's compared to the pace of today's average, let's just say Monday Night Raw, it feels like breakneck pace, right? Like on this show so far, that opening match took about 11-12 minutes, and then you had a promo. Next match was 4.5 minutes, then you had 2 promos. That next match was 5 minutes and 15 seconds, and he had a promo. And then this is the longest match on the card, and it's kind of right in the middle. But anyway, it's like those old, WCW TV shows, right, where it's match promo, match promo, match promo. It's great. I feel like we're missing that these days. It's kind of become passé. It's not a format that's in style anymore.
I mean, today's promos are even just not as snappy. Right, like they don't they're not as quite as witty. They're not most of the time. They're not quite as we've been saying, unhinged. And I think that also lends to this, like, the chaotic nature. So, like, when the Legion of Doom talks about a swelling of the fluid sac surrounding the brain, that gives you an idea of what's about to happen.
Yeah.
And so it kind of sets the picture, not just in the story, but it also sets a tone. And that, like, just because, so you don't have the promo anymore leading to the match that's about to happen on TV anymore, and so you're missing that tone that sets the stage. And so it's, as we talked a lot of, like, every episode, that, like, wrestling is theater. You're losing that aspect of theater of setting the tone, right? And it's just like in a musical, like, you can tell from the dialogue that just happened whether the next song is a happy song or a sad song. Is it going to be a fast song, or is it going to be a slow romantic song? It doesn't happen anymore, and it kind of takes the theatrics out of professional wrestling these days.
It also feels like everybody took, like, all the wrong lessons from Jake the Snake's promos, right? Because his promos were always sort of slow, very measured, very, like, sort of psychological and emotional, and it's kind of like everybody's, like, wants to talk about their feelings now instead of why they're mad at the other person. And it just, to me, it's not quite the same thing. Anyway,
right? They don't talk about why they're mad and what they're going to do about it anymore.
The only person I see currently doing this kind of work is Mark Briscoe over in AEW, and he's a phenomenal talent. He's always been a phenomenal talent. I think we all miss his brother and their chemistry tremendously, but, like, he's found this really interesting niche over there at the moment, where he kind of does this. I don't know. Unhinged is the right. It borders on comic, but it's to me it feels like Mark Briscoe being Mark Briscoe,
Yeah, the sense that I got from him from watching Forbidden Door is that he's basically turning into Terry Funk at this point.
Yes,
he even
yes.
like copies a Terry Funk move during the ladder match where he puts the ladder around his neck and starts spinning around like a helicopter, taking everybody out. Like, he's definitely kind of turning into a Terry Funk, because, I mean, we've seen Terry Funk's unhinged promos on this show before too, where, like, at the Wrestling Classic, he basically seems incredibly intoxicated and is grabbing people. It's weird. So if that's what Briscoe's doing, I support him 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here for all the Terry Funk tributes that need to happen in this world. Speaking of which, again, topic for a future show, I just finished reading his autobiography called More Than Just Hardcore. It came out maybe mid-2000s, 2009 maybe. And it's a fun read. We talked about whether we should do some episodes where we kind of take a look at, we have like a Wrestling Archives book club,
Yeah.
Like, if you're ready to give up, you're reading it, you're like, I don't know, it's kind of boring. These are the three words that I want you to just think about. Insane Clown Posse. And it's close to the end, so you got to hang in there until the Insane Clown Posse makes their appearance, and you will thank me for it. So,
nice.
Anyway, sorry. Shawn Michaels promo, yes.
Shawn Michaels promo is incredibly similar to a Ric Flair promo. I don't know if you picked up on that. Like,
yeah.
His cadence was very Ric Flairish. He was almost doing a little bit of a southern twang into it as well, but he's also talking like Ric Flair, where he's talking about how many women he can lure in and how sexy he is and how much money he has and stuff like that. And so he must have been watching some Ric Flair tapes before going on the air here with Sherry.
Yeah. Who can blame him?
Right.
So he's facing off with the Macho Man, with Miss Elizabeth, for the Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Is this the Intercontinental? I thought this is the World Championship.
Is this the World Champion? Hold on.
I think it's World Championship.
Oh, you're right. I wrote it
again. This is big time.
I can't even trust my own notes anymore. Intercontinental's coming up later. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
World Championship. Macho Man looks like $1 million. He comes sprinting to the ring like a fucking maniac that he is. And he starts laying the wood to Shawn, and Shawn is just selling his ass off for him. we've talked a little bit about the Shawn Michaels oversell before, but this is a spot where I really liked it. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
It works well. It makes Macho Man look incredibly powerful.
Yeah. These guys put on a hell of a show. Sherry is the MVP as usual. She's riling up the crowd. She's screaming at the guys in the ring. There's a young lady in the front row who looks like she wants to come over the barricade and strangle Sherry with her bare hands. Like, it's fantastic.
Yeah, and we have a lot of the classic Shawn Michaels bumps happening in this match too. So like Macho Man's letting Shawn get his shit in. So like he does the slingshot into the steel post, and he's got the reverse crescent kick as Gorilla Monsoon refers to it. It's not a super kick. That's stupid. It's a reverse crescent kick. So that kind of stuff is good. And one thing I noted was that, like, unlike other ringside talents, especially ringside talents that happen today, Sherry seems to have an uncanny ability to detect where the microphones are. You can always hear what she is saying crystal clear when she's ringside.
She's an artist.
I mean, a bit of it is she's loud, but I mean, you can be in an arena of 8,000 people and be loud and not be heard. But she is finding those mics and delivering her lines and just screaming and just putting on a show on the outside. She ends up chasing Elizabeth off, which ends up coming back into play. And then both Shawn and Macho Man are doing incredible exchanges of technical wrestling and high-flying stuff that just shows that Shawn Michaels is about to be a main eventer at this point.
Yeah, they had to be looking at him and just seeing dollar signs everywhere, right? Like, because he's clearly all upside at this point in his career. So, yeah, the thing about Sherry, like, if that's where, like, one or two pay-per-views or whatever where you're like, oh yeah, she's really on the mic this time, I like, okay, maybe it's just coincidence, but the fact that it happens every single time she does any of these shows, like, she has to know what she's doing, right? Like, and good for her.
Her outfit is outrageous at this show too. She's wearing some sort of vinyl transparent shirt.
I don't know what the fuck's going on. Yeah,
it's like super baggy, so she looks like she's wearing the packaging a shirt might have came in. I mean, it's early 90s style, but it's like kind of punkish style, and like it just works. It just, like, God, she's so like, you can hate her so easily. It's so amazing. This match had everything in it. Like, it has the big, beautiful flying elbow for Macho Man. It has his flying cross body. It has Shawn doing a cross body. It has sunset flips. It has the ref taking a bump. It's got everything, like.
Yeah, it has, of course, Macho Man doing his double axe handle from the apron to the floor, and probably ruining his knees for life.
I don't know how he does that.
Yeah, I don't. It's a perfect piece of work, to be honest.
Yeah,
and it runs. It's a long match. It runs nearly 16 and a half minutes, but it doesn't feel long at all.
No, I kind of want to go back and watch it again now, talking about it again.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that this era of Sensational Sherry is my secret girlfriend. Like, I'm starting to develop a serious crush, which is a problem because she's dead. But it's all right. We won't talk about it. So let's see. Randy Savage beats Shawn, keeps the belt. There's some shenanigans after the bell. Sherry tries to get involved and nails poor Shawn instead. You know how these things go.
Yeah, and then Macho collides Sherry and Shawn's head together in a meeting of the minds, a noggin knocker. And then Gorilla Monsoon, the camera pans to Elizabeth, and Gorilla Monsoon says, "The First Lady of WWF, Elizabeth." And then it goes to Sherry, and he says, "Look at that garbage."
Oh, man, that's rough. Come on, man.
Yeah. Oh.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Tell us how you really feel, Gino.
I know. And then they actually left in a mistake that Gorilla Monsoon makes next after that. So this is the intermission of the live show. And so Gorilla Monsoon tries to throw it to Sean Mooney, but he says Shawn Michaels instead.
Whoops.
And Heenan calls him out on his shit immediately. And Gorilla's just like, well, I have Shawn Michaels on the mind after that match, and then he's like, here's Sean Mooney, and like it's a real awkward moment, and I'm surprised that they didn't edit it out.
Yeah, and don't fuck up when Heenan's around; he won't let you forget it.
No.
Yeah, the intermission is a Bushwhackers comedy promo with Sean Mooney, and it's god awful. It's fun to see the Bushwhackers. It's fun to see how much, again, the kids love them. As
they're licking all the kids coming to the ring.
Licking all the kids. Yeah, did it bring back good memories for you?
Yes, it did actually. Yeah, and so the Luke and Butch say that even the sheep are nice in England, and then he says they're lovely, but you need to get up early in the morning to catch the good-looking ones.
That's a joke about sheep fucking for the kids.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they mention how they only eat sardines, and then they start looking Sean in the face.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's good stuff. Good stuff.
It's good. And if you remember when we watched that other VHS compilation, the Smack 'em Whack 'em, there was all those like crazy nonsense Bushwhackers like comedy home renovation bits thrown in between the matches. So at least we don't have that. At least we don't get that. So.
Yeah.
All right. So when we come back from intermission, we got the Mountie with Jimmy Hart and with Lord Alfred Hayes. He's cutting a promo on Virgil. He has some not terribly PC things to say about Virgil.
No. So Jimmy Hart says that the Mountie is international law and order. And then, that's fine. And then the Mountie just straight up goes Jim Crow?
Yeah, he goes all racial.
Virgil? Yeah, he says that he was walking down Regent Street and saw Virgil sleeping on the street, but it wasn't Virgil, just someone that looked like him. And then the Mountie then woke him up with his little stick, as you know, he carries the cattle prod for some reason. Yeah. And then he says, because someone was waiting for a shoe shine.
Oof. Yikes, bro.
Just call him the N-word. Just get it over with. Jesus.
It is 1991. This was not okay in 1991 either.
1992.
Oh, God. I got 1991 on the brain. Sorry.
I know. Like, just ask him to tap dance and sing Swanee River. Jesus, man.
Oh, man. That's not good. Also, he's Canadian. Isn't he supposed to be above all this nonsense?
Right.
He is a cop, though, so that's, whatever you got. And then Virgil cuts a promo back on Sean Mooney.
Yeah, he says that a shoe shiner is a hard day of work. And then he says, I felt like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Whatever that means.
What?
And now we know, why Virgil stayed in his position.
Yeah, his push is a little bit of just a weird footnote on this particular era, right? Like, I get where they were coming. Him turning on Ted DiBiase was something that had to happen. You have to have the valet, gets treated like shit, eventually turns on the heel, and everybody pops for that, right? But then, if the person filling that role is not quite cut out for it, it fades real quick. So
like Shawn Michaels brought Diesel in that way, and then when Diesel turned on him, Shawn actually brings Sid, and it's Sid's like second or third run in WWF. He comes in with Sid as his bodyguard. So there's legitly known talent happening there.
Yeah.
Virgil, he's definitely he had skills. He had some talent. I'm not gonna sit here and say that he was useless or not talented or anything like that, because you got to have something to get to this level.
He was an athletic dude, clearly.
But just something with him, at least for me, didn't click.
Yeah, agreed. And the Mountie wins this one pretty easily. It's relatively short, 8 minutes, 9 minutes.
Yeah, this is more of a comic match almost, because partially when they start playing I'm the Mountie, not one of Jimmy Hart's best works. Monsoon says, I hate the guy that wrote that music. So clearly that's a dig at Jimmy Hart, but the audience doesn't necessarily notice that. But then Heenan says, what, Beethoven? Chopin? And then
Bobby Heenan, noted music critic.
Yeah. And then Virgil is wearing a nose guard, and it's very clear that Virgil isn't kind of wearing it right because it's kind of over his eyes, and Monsoon even says something to that to that extent. But then Heenan says it's actually a muzzle because all wild dogs need to be muzzled in England.
Yikes, bro.
Bobby.
Come on, man.
And the Mountie is getting so much heat that he gets on the microphone and starts yelling at the crowd, I am the Mountie. I think you know.
Are you just saying your name right now? Is that
right?
That's how we're doing this.
Well, I mean, that's how his song goes. So,
yeah, it's not a great moment.
No.
All right, let's keep it moving. We got some more promos because our second title match is coming up here. It's a singles match for the Intercontinental Championship. Got it right this time. Bret Hart is the champion, going up against the model dickhead of the world, betrayer of Tito Santana, creator of all things evil and unholy in the world, Rick Martel. So, of course, we get some promos beforehand.
I like that Rick Martel said that he will be the best-looking Intercontinental Champion after this match. Thought that was pretty funny. Brett is still a bit dry, and it's not coming across as like his actual character is like that.
Yeah.
But all I could think of, like, Brett had his hair, his slicked hair beautifully draped partially across his face in that 90s way, and all I can think of is like, God, that has to be annoying all the time just to have hair dangling in your face like that.
Yeah.
And then he fires back, so he clearly heard Martel's promo where he says the English don't care about how you look but how you wrestle. That's an interesting dating approach.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the haircut shows that he's moody, and he's serious. He's a poet, maybe kind of sensitive. It's working, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people had that haircut in the 90s. Like, this was pre-boy band, so they weren't quite into like the brooding thing yet. But the new kids on the block, they always had like a serious one, right? And like you could imagine that guy like having that haircut. Just show that he was complicated.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is a good match. I mean, not like it's a surprise given the quality of these two.
No.
But it's classic era Brett. We get all the great Brett stuff.
Yeah, and God, Rick Martel looks fantastic. He's got that Thanksgiving turkey roast tan to him, and it's just accentuating all the lines of all his muscles and his lean body fat. Just he's in prime shape, and this is kind of late in his career.
It is,
yet,
yeah.
You know, he just looks so fantastic in this.
The trick is to do like a mix of butter and olive oil on the turkey, and that way you get better coverage, and then they kind of like augment each other in terms of the browning effect. So I'm guessing that maybe he knows that trick as well. I don't know if they do that up there in Canada.
No, I don't know, but good Lord. Good Lord.
Take a breath, Rich. Take a breath.
Gorilla Monsoon was talking about some like he's talking about the fan that got Bret Hart's glasses, and Heenan says she's a cute little girl in a kind of United Kingdom sort of way.
That's cold. That's cold.
Yeah. God. And but in this match, there's like no wasted motion between these two. It is an incredible dance between them, and like there's lots of psychological stuff happening too. Martel is selling his leg, and yet he's acting like he's got Brett defeated, which is just incredible. Like, he's barely able to walk, but he's celebrating.
Yeah.
You know, and you know Brett is working that leg, really showing that Brett is getting it done, and we eventually start moving into the 5 moves of doom: the Russian leg sweep, the suplex, the backbreaker, the elbow from the second rope. But Martel keeps breaking his momentum from that, and like you start getting the sense that like, man, Rick Martel could win this one. You wouldn't be surprised, and you wouldn't necessarily be heartbroken. You'd just be like, man, the bad guy won, kind of thing. And it just, there's this great pacing through this entire match. It's a sleeper classic, I would call it.
Yeah, I wasn't. I don't know that I knew about this match. And we pay a lot of attention to Bret Hart's back catalog, but this is a solid one. Martel, I'm not giving him short shrift at all. He really had all the tools. He could talk. He is so good at being a dick. Like, he's got like such a pretty punchable face. You're just like, God, he's so smarmy. And so I think, he's sort of almost a perfect foil for Bret in this case. Bret's not terribly tanned. He's not a good talker. He looks athletic, but he doesn't look like freaking Rick Martel, yeah.
There's an incredible subtlety to Martel's performance too, to where his face, his facial work, he holds his face in such a way through the whole match to where he's still holding that arrogant facial expression that he has during his promos and stuff like that. But whenever he takes a hit, he contorts his face and he's ugly. And so anytime he gets hit in any way, he becomes ugly. And then he's back to that arrogant, smug, beautiful face once he's not writhing in pain again. And it really like carries his character through, and his character's work in that way.
Yeah, it's almost like it's revealing his true self, right? Like, you're like, oh, that's the real nasty guy underneath that facade, and I just saw it. And then he went back, he fixed his face and came back to it.
Yeah.
So, anyway, fantastic match. Bret gets the win.
With a small package roll-up, sneaks it in.
Perfect technical finish. Two technical guys. And we've seen good old Ricky Martel. He was on the old AWA shows when he was just a tiny little thing. But even then, you could kind of see he kind of had something. So, real hidden gem here. So, thanks to Nick.
Yeah.
And then the rest of this thing just kind of peters out for me. We got Jim Duggan, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, of course, versus the Repo Man, our buddy Barry Darsow, under the Repo Man's Hamburglar mask. We get, not entirely sure what Jim Duggan's saying. I don't, was it a work that he was like in the bathroom when he was supposed to? Don't do that. That scares me.
Tough guy!
Tough guy.
Tough guy!
Lord Alfred Hayes is waiting. So the Wikipedia page says Alfred Hayes is waiting to interview Jim Duggan, who's still in the bathroom when they come back from the break.
You hear a very loud toilet flush, and Duggan then comes out and says, "Sorry for the delay. I had to work up a sweat."
That's disgusting.
Tough guy!
Tough guy.
Oh!
Where did you find that? Also, stop it.
Tough guy!
I made them this afternoon.
Oh!
Is that your new ringtone?
Yeah. Tough guy.
Please do that and then record Bryn's reaction when it goes off in public. Preferably in the middle of a musical with very expensive tickets.
Yes. Sorry for the delay. I had to work up a sweat.
Oh.
Oh!
I'll be a character witness at your divorce proceedings. Don't worry. I think it'll be fine.
He does land another beautiful line where he says, "These grade A hams against his masked head."
Yeah.
Tough guy!
That's way funnier than it should be.
Oh!
Our two last remaining listeners just turned off the episode in disgust. Christ almighty. Yeah, what a weird phenomenon good old Jim Duggan was. I mean, it's cheap pop, right? Like, go to the patriotism well, carry a flag around, chant USA. But whatever, he had his run.
Yeah, he certainly did. And one of the best things I'd ever seen in a wrestling sign happens after that promo, and the camera comes back, and there's a person holding up a sign that says Repo Man rules. There's a Repo Man fan in England that loves the Repo Man so much that he made a sign and carried it to the arena. He probably rode with it on the tube and then brought it into the arena. He had to deal with that thing like all day. And he's been holding on to it for most of this show, and finally reveals it in time for Repo Man to come to the ring.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's a James Joyce short story, really. I wonder where that person is and if we can get them on this show. All right.
Tough guy!
Whose favorite wrestler was the Repo Man? That's what I want to know.
I mean, Barry Darsow is incredibly skilled and a great wrestler.
He's amazing.
Repo Man is not his best gimmick.
If
it was a sign that said you should still be Crusher Khrushchev, or a sign that said that you should still be Smash, okay.
I don't even know if Barry Darso's mom was a Repo Man fan. You know,
I know, poor guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he went all for it. These guys go back and forth a little bit. They're having a perfectly fine match. And then the Repo Man grabs his towing hook or whatever the fuck it is he carries around and smacks Duggan with it, which of course gets him immediately disqualified. And then there's some after the bell shenanigans. Duggan does get his. You can see how I can make that mistake. He does get his 2x4 out and chase Darsow around, and then he comes to the ring and like motions everybody to quiet down so that he can start a USA chant.
He starts a USA chant in the middle of the match, and it goes just fine for him. Like, you're in England, dude. There's some beautiful lines in this match. There's some great dialogue between Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon. Bobby Heenan says that Jim Duggan is living proof you can be as dumb as a mud fence and still have people like you.
That's pretty good. I like it.
And then Gorilla Monsoon says, Repo Man gets disqualified because he hits the ref, and he says he touched the official. You know why? Because he's stupid. That's why. And with friends like you, they'd understand.
Wow.
And then when Duggan comes after Repo Man with the 2x4, Bobby Heenan says if he would have hit him with that, Paul Bearer would have had some business to do.
Tough guy!
Hit it one more time for the fans.
Oh!
There
Tough guy!
Thank you, tough guy.
Tough guy!
Let's see. Savage and Elizabeth are backstage talking to Mooney, talking about his win earlier, and then we're coming up on the main event.
Yeah, clearly in that promo, Macho Man is just paid to say certain things to put over Sky TV and Sky Movies and stuff. Like he calls the European Rampage tour a jubilee. And then he says for the first time ever the champion is calling out the challenger because he starts talking smack about Ric Flair, but it's really not smack. He's just like, I want to fight Ric Flair. And then Macho Man plugs Sky Movies. He thanks Sky Movies for having them on the air.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Tough guy!
I swear to God, I'm going to drive up there. We're going to have a problem. British Bulldog. Erwin R. Shyster with Jimmy Hart. Good promos leading into this one.
I thought Bulldog's promo was kind of weak. I actually wrote down, and it's like, this is the reason why British Bulldog never got a real title shot. And it's just because he was weak on the mic in that one. And I just don't know.
Rotunda always puts all those, puns or whatever about taxes and stuff. And
I hated IRS's thing, you're all a bunch of tax cheats, blah 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 blah. Well, good.
Yeah.
Okay, Yeah, like it's just kind of weird, and it's weird that the tax guy would be partnered with Ted DiBiase, who's a millionaire. Like it kind of seems like they would hate each other.
Yeah. One thing millionaires hate is paying taxes, right?
Right. And so Rule Britannia hits, and the crowd goes nuts. And Heenan says they may just be cheering for the song, and not for the British Bulldog.
Yeah. It's a good song. I like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. They have kind of a weird I mean, I don't know. I like both of these guys. They're both obviously very talented. They go 12, 13 minutes, which seems to be stretching things a little bit for the Bulldog.
It's pushing it. Like I just felt like they don't have a lot of chemistry with each other.
Yeah. They're also very different. You know, Bulldog is the big WWF superstar, power move, waiting for that picking people up over your head and the running power slam thing, versus Rotunda is the technician guy, and he went kind of more on the just kick people route as IRS. He wasn't like putting.
Well, I mean, just the WWF had a totally different wrestling style at this point than what the NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions, WCW had, and so you take someone like Mike Rotunda, who gives a wrestler, like a legit wrestler like Rick Steiner, a run for his money, and put him into a place where they mostly pose, they strike, and occasionally do a little bit of stuff. All he can do is try to make Davey Boy look really strong, and he does a fantastic job of selling Davey Boy and putting him over. Every test of strength, Davey Boy just destroys him in, even though they're probably equal in strength. It's just British Bulldog shows his muscles more.
You can tell IRS is built under that shirt and stuff. He never takes it off, but he's not like a 98-pound tax prep weakling,
No, and as just the timeline of things for like Bulldog's life and career. So this is April of '92, and remember in August of '92 at the SummerSlam in Wembley Stadium, Jim the Anvil Neidhart dropped him off at the airport, coked out of his mind, and so. You don't just start that overnight. Yeah. Yeah, there's a very good chance that, and thinking about it, Bulldog possibly might have been not the soberest he's ever been for this, and that might be why he looked a little I don't know, 1,000-mile stare-ish in the promo, and then just kind of not on his game in this. I mean, at this point, it's the end of the European tour. You can't blame jet lag. You've been there for like a month. So,
yeah,
I don't know. It's just kind of, this match was just kind of blah, and I'm sure maybe sobriety played into it, but also I think it's just a lack of chemistry between these two. They're two different styles, two different things, and it's just tough.
Yeah, and it's sort of a lack of heat. Like why, again, like you said, why are they even wrestling? Like what's the point here?
Yeah.
What's the animus, and what's the reason for even having this at the show, except that you got to put the British Bulldog on at the end of the European tour because he's their national hero. He's the biggest name that they have in the business at the moment. So he has to go on the card, and he has to go in that top spot, but this doesn't do anything for either of these guys.
Right, and at this point in time, IRS is working tag team his mid card, right? And that's not a slight against his talent. That's just where he's being used. And so suddenly you have what is portrayed as a mid card match. People want to see the British Bulldog. People want to see the British Bulldog win, but they want to see him beat someone that has some meaning.
Yeah,
and that's why him beating Bret Hart at SummerSlam was so huge. They actually put the Intercontinental belt on him, but it's also because he just beat Bret Hart, who definitely is going to be the top star of the company very soon. So they would probably have preferred to see him wrestle Bret Hart at this, or, you know, I don't know, seeing him wrestle Macho Man. Could you imagine British Bulldog versus Macho Man, or British Bulldog versus Undertaker, or Sid even?
Yeah.
Like, all those people would probably have worked better with British Bulldog.
Yeah.
And would have possibly made that crowd happier.
Could have lined him up with one of the Legion of Doom guys for all that matter. So,
Right.
Yeah, no, but it's not it doesn't ruin the show by any means. It's still definitely a fantastic watch. Just a really amazing time capsule of a particular moment in time for professional wrestling and for the WWF in particular. A shining example of the Coliseum home video sort of aesthetic and production value, and just the sheer star power on this card is a little hard to get your head around, honestly. Like,
yeah, I mean, the only person that's missing is Hogan. This tape is nostalgia. It's pure nostalgia. Like, this is one that, like, you would recreate the box and you would find a way to rip to a VHS tape and, like, sell as a collectible or something, just because.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So shout out to Nick for finding this one for us. I like the idea of like a retro release thing, right? Like, release it in a box maybe with both a VHS and a DVD, like a completely remastered kind of thing. Include a little booklet. You could probably sell them for $100 easy, like the Bob Dylan, bootleg series or whatever, where you've got like these like twice a year or so you get like some massive release, like digging into a particular time period, right? So like a box of all the UK Rampage ones, right, where you have them all together. You have a little, something by a little wrestling scholar about this period in WWF history. I would buy the shit out of stuff like that. That is right in my wheelhouse, and I can't be the only one,
Right, and you take that to a collectible show and get it signed.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. Did you have a
Tough guy?
All right, tough guy. Did you have a best match and worst match for this show?
Let's see. Best match. It's really close between Shawn versus Macho Man and Bret Hart versus The Model. I probably was more invested in Shawn versus Macho Man, so I'm probably going to go with that as my best match. And worst match is probably going to be Mountie versus Virgil.
That was really bad. Yeah, I'm with you. I think those are obviously the two highlights of the card. I could flip a coin. I would probably say Bret Hart, just because Bret Hart forever. Any oh shit moments from this one?
Finish of the Shawn versus Macho Man, and like seeing Shawn Michaels, and just also the concept of Shawn Michaels keeping up with Macho Man. It really, like, seeing Shawn Michaels so young and so early in his solo career to just come out in this match against Macho Man and be and like not just hold his own, but like shine separately from Macho Man is incredible.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a big pressure moment, with an absolute superstar. I think mine would probably be, well, I don't know, that Paul Bearer promo. I wrote down in my notes, like, God, that guy was so fucking good. Like,
yeah,
and just his commitment and his delivery and everything about him. And when he comes out to the ring, like, he's looking like a fucking weirdo. He's like, you know what I mean? He's all in all the time. And it just really, if we've noticed it before, we've talked about it before, for whatever reason, this show and that combination promo and match, it just really like caught me. It struck me, and I'm like, oh shit, like that guy's something else. So I'm going to pick that one for mine. Before we wrap up, we like to just take a moment to pay tribute to the men and women that we've seen in the show that we no longer have with us. This is a longer list because, again, way back in 92. So our in memoriam for the UK Rampage 1992 includes Bobby the Brain Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon, Road Warriors Hawk and Animal, Legion of Doom Hawk and Animal, Dino Bravo, The Iron Sheik, Lord Alfred Hayes, Paul Bearer, Sherry Martel, Macho Man Randy Savage, Miss Elizabeth, Bushwhacker Luke, Mike Virgil Jones, and the British Bulldog Davy Boy Smith. Alrighty, so thanks for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed listening to this one. Again, thanks to Nick for the recommendation. If you want to check out our website or the WrestlingArchives.com, we've got a TeePublic site to get t-shirts and cool stuff. If you want to support the show, it's ko-fi.com/Wrestling Archives. You can find us on all your favorite social media accounts. Been a little less active on Twitter these days, but Instagram and Facebook are going strong. You can always drop us a note through our website. We love to hear from fans. Send your questions, send your show requests, send your, I don't know, Hacksaw Jim Duggan impressions, whatever you want. Just like that, please. Let's see. Anything else to add, Rich, before we wrap up for the
Tough guy!
Tough guy. I swear to God.
Tough guy!
Just check out the new and improved website still if you haven't yet.
It looks great. All right, so we're going to wrap up. Again, thanks for listening. I'm your co-host, Tim.
I'm your co-host, Rich.
And we'll see you in the ring.
Oh!